Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Ty Miller. I am a business student here at the University of Utah. Today, I'm going to do a corporate social responsibility analysis of the Deckers brands, the Deckers Outdoor Corporation and its corresponding brands. Basically, the purpose of this is to evaluate Deckers Outdoor Corporation, basically to establish its corporate social responsibility, know what it is, know what it is going forth, what their vision is, what their true responsibility and accountability has been established for, and to develop a course of action that can be recommended to them in order for Deckers brands and UGG, Sanuk, Teva, Hoka, all of the brands that they own and that they are over, to be able to truly establish a growth mindset and to be able to continue to fulfill that responsibility. Corporate social responsibility, many people do not know, is something that affects so many aspects of our world. It is something that is truly important and essential for a business, because if you have that corporate social responsibility, you're able to find out the local community's needs, and that affects them, basically where your factories are, where you're settled. It affects so much of where you're producing the entire supply chain, and whether that's from a social sense of civil rights changes, social justice changes, or from a more of an environmental sense of making the planet a better place. And that is obviously, as a general public that we live on this planet, that is something that is so key and essential to establish in our own right of what are we doing to make the planet better? What are we doing to improve? And companies need to remember this. They need to recognize this if they're truly going to be successful. And that affects obviously their employees, those that work for them, and it affects the accountability on their part to be able to know, okay, what are we going to do, and what are our ethics, what are our morals, what are our values that is going to affect that. And if they're going to develop this responsibility and truly fulfill it, then they need to think about those things and analyze them, truly understand who they are as a company. And in turn, obviously, governments with bills and laws and rights, they can know what companies are doing, and they can know how they can work and cooperate with those responsibilities and with those other corporations to establish their own right, what they want to do as a government. And obviously, with the environment, shareholders and investors and consumers and customers all comes together, because you have to realize, what are you doing to make a profit, but also not just a profit in a financial sense, but what are you doing to change that, to make sure that you're doing more than just making money. And obviously, in a corporate social responsibility, the most important things are who you are and what are you going to do about it. And that's why we look at the SWOT acronym. SWOT is the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of a company that may affect their responsibility and their goals as a company. Deckers has obviously had a pre-established brand. They do have difficulty at times achieving their goals and creating a positive public image. However, if they are able to, use this opportunity that they have as such a big platform of a company that focuses on sportwear and footwear that is fully biodegradable, 100% recyclable, and in their pursuit of sustainability, they need to remember the relevancy and complacency that may follow. And if they can fill in those foundational cracks, they will find success. And success is obviously measured by what you are doing. Are you doing it for just making money? Are you doing it to make money and give it back? Are you doing good and making money at the same time, which is kind of the sweet spot that we want to be in? Or are you doing good just to do good? And are you a nonprofit? Are you a charity? And I think Sanuk And especially the entire Deckers brand wants to be where they're obviously making a profit to keep their shareholders and stockholders happy, but they're also making a difference in the environment and the world. They've established that as their brand. They've been talking about it nonstop. That's where the CEO, David Powers, comes in, is because he's made these promises and he said that he wants to be sustainable. And they have to find that balance of what sustainability really is. And that is the avoidance of depletion of natural resources in order to maintain an ecological balance. And obviously that's more of a natural sense of an ecological balance for our earth, for our planet. But if they can find a balance within their company and continue the cycle of growth and trying to find if sustainability is even possible, then they truly are going to make a difference and they're going to fulfill that responsibility. But they need to have a vision, goals, and plans in place in order to achieve that. There was a quote from Environmental Engineering and Management Journal that actually referenced the Deckers brand. And they said where impact is truly being made is the actual materials that are being used within the company's production line. The elements are biodegradable materials, and they're an environmental impact that is positive and is diminishing use of plastics and other hazardous materials, which that comes back to what materials are they using specifically within the shoe, and are those materials creating a large carbon footprint? Are the emissions outweighing what they are actually producing? And we will get to that in a minute, but really the questions that arise when you're talking about production and manufacturing for Deckers brands is, will these materials be reasonable and logical and with, for lack of a better word, sustainable to keep in the manufacturing process? Do they truly lead to sustainability? And these questions must be answered. And will these promises that the CEO, David Powers, has kept or has made, will they be kept? And as you can see here on this graph of what actual percentage of emissions are being used compared to the percentage of the shoe that is being used. And you have to analyze these little things and come up with a course of action. And I think their course of action has to be creating biodegradable materials so that they are able to fulfill this quote that David Powers says of having our global platform means that we have a responsibility to our consumers, employees, stockholders, and the communities we serve, going back to the corporate responsibility. He says sustainability is not an easy journey, but we strive to support our local communities, maintain an ethical supply chain, and significantly reduce our overall environmental footprint. And that's where my recommendations and points of emphasis that I think they have as opportunities truly come in. They must have a genuine desire to change. And if they have that genuine desire, and if their pursuits of positively impacting the environment are true and pure, then they need to let that be known and establish that within their entire brand. And they have to have that growth mindset. Positive impact doesn't just come by wanting it. You don't stand in front of a fire and expect it to burn. You have to do the work. You have to do the groundwork. And that's where, if they have that growth mindset, they will be able to build that foundation within themselves as a company. And doing that means they have to have innovation that excites, and they need to develop and grow ways of products that are essential in finding a way to accomplish that vision of sustainability. And if they do that, profit will come. It's inevitable that people will recognize these things. And so my course of action just comes down to establishing accountability, developing a brand within yourself, having a vision, sticking to it. That's where accountability is. Using these biodegradable and recyclable materials and products is so essential, and people will recognize that. And if they do that, they'll corner the market, and other brands such as Nike and Adidas, they won't be able to stand a chance. And if they stay true to these promises that are made, then the course of action is set and they'll be able to be successful. And that is where I end my presentation, and I thank you for listening.